In a world, constantly being reshaped by tech advancements and shifting geopolitics, what does it really take for a nation to stand on its own feet, especially in something as critical as national defense? Today, we're taking a deep dive into India's really ambitious journey to forge its own air power, essentially from the ground up. Our mission, looking at all these sources you've shared, the articles, the research notes, is to kind of cut through the noise and pull out the key insights about India's homegrown fighter jets, the LCA Tejas and the upcoming AMCA.
Exactly. And we'll be exploring how these huge initiatives, they're not just about building aircraft, right? They really underpin India's whole Aatmanirbhar's vision, their push for a self-reliant India. It's fundamentally about reducing that reliance on foreign suppliers, boosting their strategic autonomy. It's a really complex story, high-stakes stuff, where tech dreams meet hard geopolitical realities, full of surprising bits and, frankly, critical lessons.
Okay, so let's unpack that right from the start. What's the real driving force here? Why this massive investment in building their own jets? How much does that Aatmanirbhar idea actually play into something this complex?
Oh, it's absolutely central, and it's way more than just an economic slogan. What's really fascinating is that this vision, it's a deep strategic imperative. Historically, India's faced some serious vulnerabilities because they leaned so heavily on foreign suppliers. Think about the reliance on Russian parts, for example. We've seen concrete examples, painful ones, like the delays in getting GE engines for the Tejas Mk1A. That's not just a small problem. It starkly highlights the risks,
Yeah.
disruptions, lack of sovereign control, especially when international tensions rise or sanctions hit.
Right, your defense capability essentially held hostage.
Precisely.
So what does this mean on the ground, or rather in the air, for the Indian Air Force, the IAF? The sources point to a pretty critical shortfall in squadrons operating about 31 against a sanctioned need for 42. And they're trying to phase out those old Soviet-era MiGs, the 21s, 23s, 27s.
Yeah, and if you connect that to the bigger picture, the IAF has this incredibly ambitious goal, hitting 60 squadrons by 2047. That means something like, what, 1,080 to 1,200 aircraft. So they need to bring in maybe 500 to 600 new fighters over the next couple of decades. Indigenous programs like Tejas and AMCA are absolutely crucial to hitting that number, and just as importantly, countering the threats in the region. I mean, look at China's Air Force expansion, over 1,900 fighters, including their advanced J-20s, and Pakistan's modernizing too. Any delay in India's own programs directly impacts that strategic balance. It really is a race against time.
Okay, with that strategic pressure clear, let's look at the actual hardware. Where did India even start this huge undertaking? That brings us to the Tejas, right? Their 4.5 gen single-engine fighter. It started as the Light Combat Aircraft program way back in the early 80s, meant to replace those old MiG-21s.
That's right. The Tejas, its first flight was Jan 4, 2001. It got officially named Tejas means radiant in 2003, and finally entered IAF service January 17th, 2015. What's really notable is it's the smallest and lightest in its class of supersonic fighters. The design is key. The tailless compound delta wing makes it super maneuverable. Plus, it uses relaxed static stability and a quadruplex digital fly-by-wire system. Basically, it's inherently a bit unstable, which makes it agile. The computers are constantly working to keep it flying precisely where the pilot wants it.
So the computer's doing a lot of the heavy lifting for stability?
A huge amount. It's got 8 hard points for weapons and pods, carries about 5,300 kilos of payload, max speed Mach 1.6, service ceiling around 16,000 meters. Now that development, spanning over 30 years, was a massive learning curve, huge. Despite all the delays, it gave them invaluable foundational knowledge for the more advanced stuff, like AMCA. It was like India's real-world aerospace university.
30 years. Wow, that really is a marathon. So what's the current situation with it? The Tejas Mk1A, the production version?
Right, the Mk1A, the first production one, just flew recently, March 28, 2024. The IAF has ordered, in total, 123 Tejas aircraft. That includes the earlier Mk1s, the Mk1As, and trainers, and they plan to get another 97 Mk1As. The Manji signed a big deal, about 48,000 crore, which is roughly, $5.7 billion. That was for 83 Mk1As back in Feb 2021. But, and this is a big but, HAL Hindustan Aeronautics Limited to face serious delays, mainly because GE Aerospace was late supplying the F404 engines. They got only one engine in 2023 when they expected 12.
Ouch, that's going to hurt production.
Big time. It's a major choke point. It means the IAF isn't getting the planes it desperately needs to plug those squadron gaps. Pushes their whole modernization timeline out. HAL is now aiming to deliver at least 6 by March 2026. And the push for more Indian content, indigenization, means the second batch of 97 Mk1As should have more Indian parts, aiming to go from maybe 60% now to over 70%. But interestingly, the first Mk1As will actually use an imported Israeli AESA radar, the ELM 2052, because the indigenous UDM radar faced certification delays.
Ah, so there's that trade-off again. Get something flying now, even if it's not fully made in India, versus waiting.
Exactly. It highlights that constant, kind of painful balancing act between urgent operational needs and the long-term self-reliance goal.
It's a tough dance.
Definitely a critical dilemma. Okay, beyond the Mk1A, what's next for Tejas? I keep hearing about an Mk2. How big a jump is that?
The Mk2, yeah, it's designed to be a pretty significant leap, still 4.5 gen, but enhanced range, payload, avionics. It'll have a slightly longer body, canards, those little wings near the cockpit. Indigenization is planned to hit 70% there. First prototype, hopefully by 2025. First flight 2026. Mass production targeted for 2029. And IAF induction maybe 2028. So still a ways off.
And the engine for that one?
That'll be the GE F414 INS6, a more powerful engine. HAL and GE signed an MOU in June 2023 for joint production under a transfer of technology deal. What's really fascinating, though, is how they're positioning the Mk2. It's not just meant to be a better fighter, it's also a crucial technology demonstrator and testbed for the really advanced systems going into the 5th-gen AMCA. Ah, like a stepping stone.
Exactly. This kind of real options approach is smart. It's not just about building the plane. It's about building the capability to build the plane, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
De-risking the much more complex AMCA by testing its core tech, the UDM radar, EW suites, advanced fly-by-wire on the Mk2 first. It's incremental, but clever.
Okay, that makes strategic sense. So the Mk1A, while a big step for India, how does it actually compare, capability-wise, against planes it might face or competitors in the market, like the F-16, the JF-17 from China, Pakistan, or the Swedish Gripen?
Right, comparisons. Strength-wise, Tejas is agile, it's got modern avionics, and that high indigenous content is a plus for India. It's considered a very modern light fighter. That composite airframe, about 45% by weight, helps reduce weight and its radar reflection. And the Mk1A's ASA radar and EW suite are definitely up to date for its class. It's also meant to be relatively low cost and easier to maintain.
Okay, but the downsides?
Well, it carries less fuel and payload than some peers. Its max takeoff weight, around 13,500 kilograms, is quite a bit less than, say, an F-16, which can be up around 21,000 kilograms. That limits its range and how long it can stay in a fight. It's also single engine, so no backup if something goes wrong there. And critically, as we've said, the current engine is imported, which caused those production headaches.
So Tejas, a commendable achievement, proves India can build a modern fighter, but maybe not quite top tier globally yet, with some clear limitations, which I guess leads us directly to India's ultimate goal for cutting edge air power. The Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, the AMCA. This is the big one, right? The 5th-gen stealth fighter project.
This is absolutely the big one. India's most ambitious aerospace project by far. We're talking a single-seat, twin-engine, all-weather multirole fighter, but designed from the ground up for stealth, very low radar cross-section, and supercruise.
Supercruise being
Sustained supersonic flight without using the afterburners, which guzzle fuel. Big advantage for range and conserving fuel in combat. And the stealth features a key. An internal weapons bay holds about 1,500 kilograms inside, so no external bombs or missiles reflecting radar signals, special radar-absorbent coatings, carefully angled surfaces, and these clever S-shaped air intakes with diverterless supersonic inlets, DSIs. They manage airflow into the engines efficiently without bulky diverters, and they hide the engine fan blades from radar. Huge for stealth. Lots of composites again, maybe 38–40% of the structure. Twin tails, precise edge alignment. Everything geared towards low observability. It's not just an upgrade from Tejas. It's a totally different design philosophy for high-threat environments.
Sounds incredibly complex. What about the brain of the aircraft? The processing power?
Yeah, the avionics are planned to be state-of-the-art. Advanced digital architecture built around AI-assisted multi-sensor data fusion. Think of it like combining data streams from radar, infrared sensors, electronic intelligence systems, fusing it all to give the pilot this incredible 360-degree picture of the battle space in real time. Superior situational awareness.
almost like information overload.
Well, that's where the AI comes in. There's talk of an electronic pilot feature. Basically, an AI co-pilot designed to help the pilot manage the workload, automatically flag threats, suggest maneuvers, assist in complex scenarios. It'll use the indigenous UDM OBSA radar, have an integrated IRST that's infrared search and track, and a unified electronic warfare suite. Huge emphasis again on making these critical systems indigenous to avoid foreign dependency and maintain control.
Okay, let's talk engines again. That area often called the weak link for India's aerospace ambitions. What's the plan for powering AMCA?
You're right, engines are the perennial challenge. The initial AMCA, the Mk1 version, will use those General Electric F414s, same as the Tejas Mk2, leveraging that joint production deal, about 98 kilonewtons of thrust. But the goal for the more advanced AMCA Mk2 is a much more powerful indigenous engine, somewhere in the 110, 130 kilonewton red class. This will be co-developed with a foreign partner, though.
Co-developed, not fully indigenous.
Right. The thinking is that designing a cutting-edge, high-thrust, supercruise-capable engine entirely from scratch, like they tried with the Kaveri engine, which had lots of problems, is just too complex and time-consuming right now. So they're looking at partners. France's Safran, UK's Rolls-Royce are the main contenders. India hopes to finalize that deal by the end of 2025. It's a huge investment, maybe $4.55 billion just for the engine co-development.
Because supercruise is non-negotiable for a true fifth-gen fighter.
Absolutely. It's a defining capability.
So massive investment. What's the timeline looking like for AMCA and the overall cost, especially with this new public-private partnership, the PPP model they're talking about?
Okay, timeline and cost. The program got the green light, approval in principle, from the Cabinet Committee on Security in March 2024. Initial budget is over 15,000 crore, about $1.8 billion, just for the first 5 prototypes. The rollout of the first prototype, they're aiming for 2028. Maiden flight may be late 2028, early 2029. Full-scale production targeting 2035.
2035. That feels ambitious given past experiences.
It is very ambitious.
Yeah.
The total program cost is projected around $15 billion. Now, that sounds enormous, but the estimated per unit cost is actually pegged at $50–70 million. If they hit that, it would make AMCA one of the most affordable fifth-gen fighters globally. That affordability is crucial. The PPP model, approved May 2025, is meant to bring in private sector efficiency, speed things up, mitigate delays. But
It's always a but.
yeah. Some private firms are concerned about a perceived bias towards the state-owned HAL. There are clauses about Indian ownership, and HAL reportedly wants to hold a majority 50% stake in any consortium. So there's a question. Will these restrictions limit real competition? Will it hinder access to the best global talent or tech, even within India's own private sector? That's a debate playing out right now.
A really important point for fostering genuine innovation. Okay, so assuming AMCA meets its design goals, how does it stack up, on paper at least, against the big players already flying? The F-35, China's J-20, Russia's Su-57.
Well, on paper, AMCA is designed with all the key fifth-gen boxes ticked. Stealthy airframe, internal weapons, S-ducts, powerful engines planned for supercruise, advanced AI-assisted avionics, sensor fusion, network capabilities. It's aiming for a mix of deep strike and air superiority roles. And India hopes indigenous innovation, maybe things like UAV, teaming controlling drones from the cockpit, could even give it an edge in some areas. However, it's still years away, and it relies on foreign or co-developed engines for the Mk2. India is entering the fifth-gen game late. The F-35 is everywhere. The J-20 and Su-57 are operational and evolving. So AMCA's competitiveness really hinges on hitting those ambitious targets on time. And that internal weapons bay payload, around 1,500 kilograms, is a bit modest compared to some competitors. Might limit the size or number of weapons it can carry stealthily.
So a lot riding on execution then. If they pull it off, what does the success of both Tejas and, crucially, AMCA really mean for India strategically, for its autonomy, its place in the world?
AMCA is potentially transformative. Success would put India in that very exclusive club, US, China, Russia nations that can design and build their own fifth-gen stealth fighters. That alone is huge. It's expected to fundamentally reshape the air power balance in South Asia, probably by the mid-2030s if things go to plan. These platforms, especially when paired with other indigenous systems like the Astra missile, that's their beyond visual range air-to-air missile, engage targets over 100 kilometers away. It signals India's shift from being a massive arms importer to a much more self-reliant military power. That boosts supply chain security, gives them total control over critical tech, invaluable in today's world.
A really powerful potential shift, but let's be realistic. What are the big hurdles, the persistent challenges still facing these programs?
Yeah, there are definitely significant challenges, and they're kind of interconnected. First, engine development. Still the weak link, relying on foreign partners even for co-development. Mastering next-gen engines is the Mount Everest of aerospace.
Still the biggest hurdle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Second, production delays. We saw with Tejas Mk1A engine supplies, these delays hit the IAF hard right when they need planes. HAL really needs to ramp up production, maybe 24 jets a year minimum. Falling short widens that air power gap as old planes retire.
So industrial capacity is key.
Crucial. Third, that balancing act.
Hmm.
Indigenization versus operational readiness. The Tejas radar example shows it perfectly. Wait for the perfect Indian tech or field something capable now with foreign parts. Constant tension. Fourth, private sector role. Those concerns about HAL's dominance in the PPP model. If it stifles competition, it could slow innovation, limit access to talent within India itself.
Need to get that partnership, right?
Definitely. Fifth, ambitious timelines. That 2035 target for AMCA, very aggressive, especially given past project delays in India, requires intense focus, maybe even direct oversight from the top, like the Prime Minister's office, to keep it on track. And finally, human capital. You need huge investment in training engineers, designers, pilots, technicians for these incredibly complex systems. It's not just about the hardware.
Yeah, the people side is often overlooked.
And all these challenges feed into each other. A delay in one area causes ripples everywhere. So effective public-private teamwork and really disciplined project management are absolutely essential.
Okay, so India's fighter jet story from Tejas, laying the foundation to the massive ambition of AMCA, it really shows this determined, evolving journey towards strategic independence in the air. Tejas, despite its struggles, seems like it really was that vital learning ground, paving the way for what they hope to achieve with AMCA.
Without a doubt, these homegrown programs are vital. Vital for plugging those squadron gaps in the IAF, vital for modernizing against growing regional threats. And while the path to full self-reliance is definitely filled with challenges, complexities, the continued investment, the focus on this goal, it's absolutely fundamental to India's long-term security and, it's standing as a major air power on the world stage.
So here's something for you, our listeners, to think about. In this super specialized, globally interconnected world of advanced defense tech, does self-reliance actually mean total independence? Or could it mean something more nuanced? Maybe strategically mastering dependencies, becoming such a key player that you can shape global collaborations on your own terms. Something to mull over.